everyone, and welcome to our podcast today. My name is Tom Borg, and if you're like me, you've been hearing all about the great resignation that's been taking place all over the world. Well, today, we've got a specialist with us, Mr. Mel Kleiman. He's been here before. Mel's going to give us some ideas on how to deal with this great resignation and have position our companies to take advantage of it. So, Mel, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And I think the last comment you made, even before I introduced myself, is probably the most important one that we should be talking about. It's how do you take advantage of what people are calling the Great Resignation? Let's not look at as a negative, but how do we turn this negative into a positive? So because let me tell you, truthfully, I've been doing this, well, my standard line is I've been doing this so long in dealing with recruiting and hiring and retention of employees that every question that you cannot ask today, literally, it was legal when I started. It didn't matter about age. It didn't matter about sex. It didn't matter. You could ask anything. That's how long I've been at this. And I've been through 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be the 5th major employment shift that I've been through. And I will tell you, of the 5 that I've been through, this one is the most dramatic. It's having the greatest impact. And we've got to look at it, but we've come through every one of those other crises. We've turned those crises, which this is, into, and as the longer you have a crisis, then it becomes a problem. And once you have a problem, you begin to solve the problem. And I will tell you, 6 months from now or a year from now, we'll have another problem that's a major. But right now, if you can't get people to clean the hotel room, and if you can't get people to work in your factory, and you can't get salespeople out there, or customer service people, or retail people, then you can't serve the customer. And so it becomes absolutely dramatic, because what's the number one sign out there today? The number one sign almost on every retail establishment today, every hospitality establishment today, is now hiring, but I could spend the whole time talking about it, but it's a now hiring sign. And so what are the things we can do? How do we come back, and how do we deal with this dramatic crisis that's happening? And is it real? That's the first question I ask. Is it real? You know, we hear people don't want to work. People are on welfare. People have this, people do this, they're gone. Okay. Well, the news no longer reports the news. The news creates the news. And the more you keep hearing the message, you can't find anybody, nobody wants to work, then we all of a sudden, we all begin to believe it. I will tell you, I did a webinar just the other day, and I had about 100 people on there, and I didn't know who was there. They were signed up, so I did a poll. I started with a poll, and I asked the question. I said, how many of you out there have taken a new job in the last year? How many of you are looking for a new job right now? Or how many of you think after the first of the year, if you're not looking now, you're going to at least go look at the marketplace? 87% of the people attending fell into one of those 3 categories.
Wow.
That doesn't mean they weren't unhappy, but they kept hearing, you got to go look, you got to go look. Everybody's looking, go look. So they're beginning to look. Now, will they go do it? That's another story. You know what? Is it really any better on the other side? But the question you're asking is, how, as we as employers, deal with the fact I can't get truck drivers, and I can't get waiters, and I can't get technicians, and I can't get computers technology people. I will tell you, on one part, I can't help you, because I don't deal with senior management level. I deal with, how do you hire a frontline worker and the people who manage them? That's my whole practice. So I can talk about home health care, and I can talk about retail, and I can talk about hospitality, and I can talk about manufacturing, and I can talk about distribution and warehousing, and all of them have problems. Let me just, yesterday's news, Hobby Lobby. We keep hearing $10 wage increase, $12 wage increase. Everybody's going to 15. Hobby Lobby said, as of the first of the year, our minimum wage is $18.50 an hour. They didn't say $18.50 an hour in California, and they didn't say $18.50 an hour in New York. They said our minimum wage is $18.50 an hour. If you hire frontline people, how are you? There's a new level. There's a new bar. So if that's the bar, and the fact of the matter is, how do you afford it?
Mm.
You know, that's the question. And I would love to pay $18.50 an hour. I'd love to pay $20. You know, first of all, you got to say, I would love to pay it, but in some cases we can't. Well, we got to look at the job and say, how can we do this? So there's questions we need to be asking ourselves, first of all. When we look at every single job, I will tell you the most important question we need to be asking, and I could spend this whole podcast talking about it, but I'm just going to do it very, 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 very quickly. Just give you a quick one. And if you want to pursue it, Tom and I can help you with it. But the real number one question is, no matter what your wage and no matter what it is, the question is, why should what I identify as a star employee come to work for you? That's the key. Have you got a reason? Can you give me that manufacturing plant you were talking about, that call center you were talking about, that retailer you were talking about? Why should that person come to work for them? There's 14 different other ads out there. I can't find people on Craigslist. Well, they're still there. They're still looking, but your ad didn't get them excited because it was all about what you need, not what they want. So we've got to begin to look at, why should a star employee come to work for it? It's interesting. I did another program for a company, and what I focused on is winning the war for workers. And their marketing people took the word for worker out and put winning the war for talent. Now, it doesn't sound as sexy to me as winning the war for worker, but winning the war for talent is really what it's all about. We don't need workers, we need talent. We need people who are going to help grow our organization. We don't just hire a body. You know, like somebody said, nobody is better than anybody, because anybody will lose you customers, not create customers. So you begin to look. So, okay, so what's the question? The number one question you need to be asking before you hire anybody is, can we do this job differently? Can we do this job without hiring anybody? Does this job need to be done at all? And when you ask everybody, or you begin to look at it, you may be amazed. I keep telling a story. It's not a new story, but it's a great story. I belong to a fitness center called Lifetime Fitness Centers. And if you don't have a Lifetime Fitness Center in your area, you should take a look at the company. Let me explain to you. They have roughly about now 120 Lifetime Fitness Centers across the country. And they're not only do they have about 115, 120 fitness centers, the fact of the matter is the average center has over 10,000 members.
Wow.
So you're talking about you're talking about between 1 million and 1.4 million members. And they're not cheap, okay? But they do things like they have, my fitness center is a little over 100,000 square feet. They have an indoor pool, they have an outdoor pool. But the reason I'm telling the story is the one thing they do is they give everybody, they have clean towels. You get all the towels you can use. You get all the workout towels you can use. You get all of the shower towels you can use. You get, the big towels, and they're the big ones. They're not little ones. Mm-hmm. And I can still remember this, and this goes back 10 years ago, because every Lifetime Fitness Center does everything exactly the same way. And they fold the towels the same way. Now, let me explain to you, you have a big towel, bath towel. So what do you do with a big bath towel? In their case, you folded them over once, you folded them over twice, that's 2 folds. And then you fold the side in this side, and you fold the side in this side. 1, 2, 3, 4 folds to that towel. Okay. And they had the racks in every club, in the shower room, in the locker room. The racks hold 3 stacks of towels on the whole rack, and they keep bringing towels out all the time. In fact, the one thing you learn to do if you work at Lifetime is you learn how to fold towels. And I walk in there January the 1st, 2011. I can say, yes, it was 12 years ago now, 11 years ago, 2001, 2011. They are folding the towels differently. Wow. I don't know if anybody else noticed or cared, But instead of folding the towels once and folding the towels twice and flipping them over this way and flipping over this way, that was 4 folds. They now flip the towels once, flip the towels twice, lay them flat.
Hmm.
They did away with 1 fold. Okay. What did they do in time? The average person, because they only had to flip them once and flip them twice and didn't have to worry about the other 2, the average person, they increased productivity by 40%.
Wow.
And they still fit on the shelves
Mm-hmm.
and they carried them out. Have you looked at every single job you're doing and said, why are we doing it this way? If you look in the restaurant industry in today's world, okay, I have a restaurant group I was working with. They used to cut the tops. They used strawberries as garnish on every single tray. And they used to cut the tops off the strawberries. They spend an hour a day cutting tops off of strawberries. Big business. They do a lot of business. 300 locations, an hour a day. Okay, take today's minimum wage, not theirs. Take today's let's say they're paying $15 an hour plus benefits, they get to 22, 20. Let's make it $20 an hour. $20 an hour, 7 days a week, $140. Take $140, take 100 restaurants. Just cutting tops off of strawberries. They quit cutting tops off of strawberries. You know what? Nobody noticed. Nobody cared.
Mm.
Are you looking at every single job and say, can we do this job? Do we need to do this job at all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No? Can we do it differently? That's the number 1 key. We've got to look at maximizing what we're doing. We could go on and on. If you think about it, there's all kinds of stories out there. You see them every single day of things that companies used to do. Okay, the fast food industry has taught every one of us how to clean our own tables.
Mm.
Think about it. Okay. We clean our own tables. They put the soda machines. I can remember the first year that Burger King turned the soda machines around and people filled out their own cup. Nobody came back for a refill. They actually made more money by making it easy for people to fill their cup. Can you do the job differently? Can they do the job without hiring somebody? The airlines have been great at it. You remember when you used to want to go someplace, you used to call a travel agent?
Mm-hmm.
Travel agents don't exist anymore. Why? The airlines taught you to make your own reservations. Not only then they taught you to make your own reservations, then they taught you to check yourself in, then they taught you to put your luggage in the bag, and then they taught us to do everything they're doing. Can we do the job differently? Can we do the job without hiring money? And then the question is the job to be done at all? Have you gone to your people and said, okay, can we do your job differently? How do we make you more efficient and effective? Okay, so that's the first question. Okay, the second question becomes, okay, you begin to look at why should anybody, I talked about it earlier, but why should anybody want to come to work for you? The number 2 thing, you've got to look at, once we figured out the job has to be done and the most efficient way to do the job. And by the way, the most effective way to find out if the job needs to be done, well, you know the job needs to be done. Are you asking your people, are you asking your employees, are we doing this the most effective way we can? Can we do this better? And by asking them, you already begin to help retention because they now feel involved.
So Mel, what we're saying here then is it's important to include your employees in this process of helping them help you figure out how to do a better job.
Of course, they're the ones that do it every day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the point being is, why do people come to work for you? I talked about, and if you go back to our previous podcast, I talked about, again, do you have a list of why great people should come to work for you? And I thought about doing this, and I really said it boils down to one company. I have a list from my own company. I look at other people's lists, but I always remember I did a webinar and I asked somebody, send me your list. And I say normally top 10 because it's easy. Could be 7, could be 5. They sent me their list. It had 2 words on it. Their entire list says, we care. If you can build a list that says we care, then you know what? Now all you have to do is let people know you care. You care about their employees. They care about the community. They care about the environment. They care about their customers. They care about their product, but they care.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go to work for a company that cares? If they live their values, and by the way, they don't have a turnover problem. And they happen to be in the home healthcare business, one of the most difficult businesses to hire for, because they care. And they let the people know they care. Okay. So you begin to look at that. That's one of the things you look at. You get the struggle that we have to pay more money. How do we afford to pay more money? Well, the fact of the matter is, the way you pay more money is another twist. You don't pay people to work for you. They pay you. Think about it. The more money I make my customers, the more money my customers are willing to pay me. I don't pay them. They don't pay me. I pay them by being more value to them. The more value you get, you can teach your employees, the more value you can give. It's like, I'll give you an example. When do we give pay raises? Well, you hire a new employee, you give pay rate, 90 days?
Could be, yeah.
6 months?
Mm-hmm.
On a time schedule.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I hired you, Tom. In the first week, you were fabulous. You picked it up, you grabbed it, you ran with it, you took responsibility, you did things, you became productive in a week that normally takes people 3 weeks to do. Normally takes people 4 weeks. Okay, what do? We give pay rate at the end of 90 days. You just penalized your absolutely best opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have one of my customers that says, one of the reasons you work for them, you will never have to ask for a pay raise.
Nice.
When somebody earns it, they get it. Yeah, I may start you at $15 an hour, but the fact of the matter is, if you're producing at the level of 20, you don't have to wait to raise. I'm going to give you the raise. You'll never have to ask for a pay raise. And they're in the fast food business. So you begin to look at the key to win this great resignation war is to look at it differently and say, this is not a talent crisis. This is an opportunity. There are great people out there looking. Okay, so the key is, how do I attract them? That's the key. First of all, I got to keep the ones I've got. Another quick example. I'm going to give you a couple of quick examples. Got to keep the ones I got, right? I've got to keep the ones you got. Let's play the lifeboat exercise. I love the lifeboat exercise. Take all your employees and dump them in the water, and you're in the lifeboat. Who is the first one you drag out of the water? Who do you throw the life vest to, and who do you throw the bricks at? Now you know, where are you spending your time? You know where most of us as managers spend our time? We spend our time trying to make the bottom better. Don't worry about the bottom. Let them go away. If you take care of the top, you'll bring in more great people. A players want to play on A teams. The number one reason your people are going to go looking is because you haven't built an A team, because nobody's leaving the A team.
Mm-hmm.
So you begin to look at that. That's another key. Begin to look at. Take care. You know what? Reward your winners. Spend your time with your winners. Invest with your winners. Don't worry about the bottom. Let them go. That's another key to doing it. Okay, so let's go back to the comment you made to me earlier before we started this session. You've got one of your customers who happened to use Craigslist, and he's not getting anybody to apply. Well, first of all, Craigslist is a great source for hourly workers, but the fact of it can't be the only fishing hole you go fishing in.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go fishing in different fishing holes. Okay. You've got to go look at LinkedIn. You got to look at your social network. You got to look at your website. Where do the employees come from? We just do a survey every year for the Convenience Store Decisions magazine. And the fact of the matter is, you know where the number one source of great people come from? I can tell you. They come from referral. Have you built your best people are your best source of good people? And let me give you one of the most interesting sources of best people that most people never take advantage of. That's the source of new employees. New employees that left someplace to come to work for you. They left for a reason. The same reason that made them leave is probably a reason that others are looking at leaving. Every one of your new employees is a great source, as long as you make their introduction to your business, as long as you make their involvement in your business. If you make them excited about coming to work for you, the fact of the matter is, at the end of the first week, you can say something like, what made you leave that last place, Tom? What made, okay, oh, really? What made you, at the end of the first week, I have a whole book, I have a book on this, but at the end of the first week, have a conversation with new employees. What made you leave there? What made you come here? What was the reason you really took this job? Okay. Have we lived up to your expectations, even at the first week? Okay. If they love what you did and you made the first week a great week, you can say, well, there must have been some other, of all the people over there, how about this question? Of all the people over there, who over there would you like to see working with us over here?
Great question.
Okay. Who over there would you like to see working with us over here? One of my customers, we hired somebody, and this was not in my area, but this was in the technology area. We hired somebody in the computer support area who had left somebody. Within 3 months, we hired 5 people away from that company. 5.
Wow.
So you begin to look at that people who you hire are great sources. Let me give you one other source for people if you're having difficulty in finding people. Now, this is not getting them to stay, not selecting, but let me give you one other example. You're having difficulty in finding people. Let me give you a source nobody looks at. Here's a reason to almost interview people you're not going to hire. You did well. First of all, you've got some people you interview in today's world. You think you're not going to hire them based on the resume, based on the Mel's. Maybe you'd be surprised if you let them in the door. Okay, maybe what you saw on paper or what your automated hiring process has eliminated are somebody that has some talent. They may not have the skill, but they've got the talent, the want, the need to grow, to learn, the stars. Okay. So let me tell you, but every person I interview, I tell people right up front, we check references. Okay. I not only want to talk to the names of people you have worked for, I want the names of 3 people you have worked with. 3 people you've worked with. What do I have? I just got 3 names. I can call them and said, hey, Barbara, Tom gave me you as a personal reference. He said he worked with you. Tell me about Tom. Oh, tell me about your job. Okay, what do what am I finding out? I'm going to interview with Barbara and see if maybe she might be interested. Every applicant is going to give you access to 2 or 3 other people that could be potential applicants. Widen the pool. And they say, well, I know you're not looking, but do and by the way, I hired Tom. And I called Barbara back 2 months later. And I said, Barbara, I just wanted to thank you. Because based on the reference you gave me for Tom, I hired him. And based on the ideas that you told me about Tom was good at, I implemented that and I'm working with him and he's been fabulous. And I just wanted to thank you. Did I make her feel good? Oh, and by the way, Barbara, do you know anybody else like Tom? You've built another pipeline. Recruiting is going to, let me tell you what, recruiting for hiring great employees should never be a secondary job. It should be part of every single day, every single job, every single person you hire. Let me just give you one more, and I know we're running out of time, and we ended up talking about recruiting, but today's world. But let me give you one more very, very quick one. Today, I just got through working with a trucking company. Truck drivers right now, somewhere between 60 and 70,000 truck drivers short in this country right now.
Interesting.
And it's not going to get any better until we get automated trucking. But the fact that, and we're looking at it. I have to tell you that Walmart is now doing testing an automated delivery truck that runs between a particular warehouse and a store Okay, it only runs between one warehouse and one store, but it's an automated truck, and they're actually using driverless truck. Okay, why does it work? Well, there's somebody at the warehouse to fill load the truck, and there's somebody at the distribution center to empty the truck, and it's only 11-mile run, but it's an 11-mile run which doesn't have a driver in it. That's how it's getting to be. We're going to be there at some point in time, but the fact of the matter is, we're looking for drivers. The number in the we went back after every driver we wanted to have back who had been with us, who had left within the last 2 years. Okay, from 2 weeks to 2 years. And we called all of them. We got 5 drivers back. Because you know what? They didn't find out it was really any greener on the other side. I will tell you, when you lose a great employee, don't wait 2 years to call them back. Wait 2 weeks. Because you know what? The reason they found out over there, they had the worst problems than they had over here. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. So those are just a couple of ideas to help you to get them. But what you're really going to do, if you get them, and we can spend the whole time, we can talk about changing the interviewing process, okay? And we have to do that. But I think for time today, I hope I've given you some ideas that you can use to help you begin to build the pipeline. I will tell you though, one last one. Get rid of your now hiring sign. Get rid of your now hiring mentality. If you saw a sign that says, life's too short, apply here, life's too short not to work someplace awesome, would it get your attention?
I certainly would.
Okay. Now you got a now hiring sign. You know what now hiring says? We're desperate. How about the sign that says, come for the job, stay for the career? How about a sign that says, our growth is your opportunity? How about a sign that says, you know, come to work for somebody who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Change it. And if you're running ads on Craigslist and you're running ads on LinkedIn, remember, if they don't get grabbed by the title, they won't read the ad.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
hope I've given you some ideas, Tom, that you can take back to your listeners and you everything. But it's not a crisis. It's an opportunity for those of us who are better, those of us who look at doing the job differently, those of us who build relationships with our people, who build a culture of caring. We're going to win. You know? If we find out what our people want, and we do it. I could go on. We do stay conversations, not exit interviews. You know, if we look at, there's so much out there today, but if we just become brilliant at the basics, we'll win the war.
Fantastic.
So,
no, we're going to have you back. There's so much good information you've got there and wealth of experience. We've got to hear more from you. But I want to thank you again for being with us, giving us a new way of looking at this opportunity, not a crisis, and the ideas that are going to help us get there if we just listen and apply them. I encourage our listeners to re-listen to this broadcast a couple times to get all the ideas and start taking a few of them and putting them into practice.